Hello, and welcome to Art, Creativity, and Well-Being. This is the show where we are always working to support you in giving as much care and love for yourself as you are accustomed to giving to others. Welcome. I'm Kay Lockculp. I am a coach, I'm a creator, I'm a facilitator, I'm a retreat leader, and I'm a thru hiker who used to need a wheelchair. Um, it's been really fun to watch the ways that I support expand. And I'm looking back on, years where I've sort of been all of these things and I don't always talk about them, I guess. So um, today felt like a moment. And actually, I'll just put a heads up here because in September of this year, September 2026, specifically from Thursday, the 19th of September through Wednesday or to Wednesday, the 23rd of September, I am offering an in-person retreat, my first ever in-person retreat, hosted some virtual ones, but not in person. This one's going to be on a beautiful lake here in Maine, in a retreat space that I'm so excited to invite you into. And I wanted to kind of put it on your radar. I am working here behind the scenes to figure out, things like pricing and structure and stuff like that. I will say that the theme is going to be something around summer camp for grown-ups because we grown-ups have been working really hard to try and come up with solutions and be okay and support others to be okay. And it's challenging to stay well in these kind of times. And a place where I always felt was very restorative for me when I was growing up was summer camp. And so I booked this. I'm so excited about it. It's on a lake that I've actually seen this place, but I've only seen it from the water in person. It has these beautiful, very colorful, bright, colorful Adirondack chairs, and the space itself is kind of it opens out onto the water in a little peninsula kind of way. And we were staying on this same pond, which is what lakes are often called in Maine. There's some distinction between a pond and a lake, but I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, we were staying there and I kayaked by this wonderful place. And I was like, wow, I'd love to paint those chairs. Oh, wow, I'd love to, what a beautiful place. I'd love to not just paint it, but stay there. And I booked this space for the dates that I shared before. And when I did that, I realized, oh my gosh, I have actually been here and seen it from the water. This is that same place. Like, wow, wow, wow. So the serendipity of that is really fun. And we are gonna play and we're gonna have campfires and we're gonna sing and dance if we want to and have some excursions. There's some really fun places to go around here and be out on the water and sit around and talk and who knows what else. I mean, I've got some plans for sure. Um, But stay tuned because there will be more to come on the specifics of that and how you can reserve your spot if you'd like to join in. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about it. And in the meantime, I'm excited about what we're doing today. So today is our second installment of a five-part workshop on feeling alive. And I mistakenly said that last episode was episode 370. It was actually episode 470. So this is episode 471, about one particular aspect of feeling alive. I have created this Venn diagram that I shared about last time, but I didn't really share about it. I invited you to go and I gave some links and places where you could look for it if you wanted to, and or look at it. And whether you have or not done that today, you can certainly participate. There's no need to go and check out the diagram. Um, I think the way that I would like to handle today is to share and highlight the whole thing. Sort of take you through the three A's that I've identified to help us feel alive, that do help us feel alive, and then highlight one in particular. So how this came about for me was I got to thinking about aliveness at its core. What is this quality? I think a lot of us, we know when we do not feel alive. We know when something is soul-sucking or awful, but it's a little harder to understand, maybe even what it is that makes us feel alive, but then also, how do we get there, right? And so that's really what this series is about, is like the components of feeling alive. And the last time with the first one, I had asked you to kind of do some reflecting on what makes you feel alive. And I too have done some reflecting on what makes me feel alive. And even just that was a really interesting invitation to sort of be curious about that in that way. You know what I mean? Just to answer that question and see where I am now as opposed to perhaps where I was, because this is something that can certainly evolve as we grow, right? And then outside of this diagram are the words disconnected, exhausted, and fearful. And it's been so interesting as I've been developing this idea. I I I would say that I chose those words, I won't, not randomly, but those words just didn't have anything to do with a corresponding place in the Venn diagram when they occurred to me. But afterwards, I realized, oh my gosh, they really have a lot to do um, with what they're sort of next to in the diagram itself. And sort of on a high level, in the diagram, so the disconnected, exhausted, and fearful is what someone feels when they're not alive. When, I think it's challenging to feel both fearful and fully alive, for example. And the others work the same, right? So on the outside of it, we have those words. And then the main structure of the diagram is three overlapping circles. The first one is awareness, the second one is acceptance, and the third one is agency. And because we are humans and we are dynamic beings, I really loved the idea that these flow into each other. So awareness flows into acceptance, which flows into agency, which gives us a higher level of awareness, et cetera, et cetera. Because my feeling is that we don't just kind of, our growth doesn't really just end somewhere where there's like a cosmic graduation cap waiting for us, right? It's there's always something more to learn. There's always something more to be open to, is my feeling. And this, it represents that in that way, one flowing into the next, flowing into the next, and then on we go, right? And so today I wanted to focus on awareness, because that, for me, certainly for me, feels like the beginning. It's where entering the diagram felt easiest for me. And so that's where we're going to bring our focus to today. So awareness, as I see it, is about being able to, it's about a couple of things, to be honest. It's about staying present to this moment as opposed to being lost in the past, or being sort of lost in worrying about the future, or being pulled away from the present moment in ways that we would wish not to. You know what I mean? So feels like there's a difference between contemplating the enjoyment that this retreat is going to bring, and the people that I'm going to be able to be with, and the sort of the things that we'll do together in September. I can envision that and I can play with it joyfully. A lot of times what I envision is us sitting around a campfire, or hiking or paddling out on the water or just drinking coffee by the dock in the morning or on the dock in the morning, sharing meals, cooking meals, some of them together, and playing bocce, other land sports games. There's a whole bunch of land sports kind of games that come with this place, and really just the feelings of connection and joy, right? Which is I enjoy placing myself in that to envision it or to kind of have those feelings now as I'm creating it, and then see how it all happens as we move through time to get to the point of the retreat itself, right? Very different from being lost in worry about all of the things that I won't even define them, but all the things that I could find to worry about. And one of them, there is an awareness. I am now placing myself into the future to enjoy some moments with the friends that I will meet there, right? Versus, and this happens to everybody. I think having an awareness about it is really the sort of the goal or the setting. Because if I get pulled away into worries or concerns, or any other number of things that humans can get pulled into, then that I've lost my awareness. And the best thing that happens is that I can go, oh, I see where I went, and I can just patiently bring myself back. So that's one kind of awareness, is sort of understanding, where am I? Am I in the present moment or am I somewhere else? Right. And then another kind is has to do with hearing the self-talk inside and being aware of the underlying motivations or concerns, for why I basically what this kind of awareness does is it helps me not have knee-jerk reactions or make conclusions based on what seems reasonable to me, but that isn't what the other person has the same understanding of. So that's kind of how I think of awareness. And then I've got these three words that I put into the diagram to define it a little bit better in terms of how we show up, how we feel when we have awareness. I would say probably have how we feel when we have awareness. And those words are freedom, integrity, and alignment. And freedom comes about because if I have the awareness to know what the self-talk is saying, and how I might respond, it's the difference between, I think I've shared this quite a bit on this show, that before I had an awareness of a tendency to try and make myself feel better with food, I would be halfway through a pint of ice cream before I knew it, because I just was trying to find something to make me feel better. But it didn't, it wasn't making me feel better. I just wasn't aware about it all. So the freedom to say, oh, this is how I'm feeling, and I can choose what to do about it. I can choose freely to only enjoy ice cream because I would enjoy it rather than trying to use it to make me feel emotionally better. So that's freedom. Integrity is, I think about this as when we know better, we do better. So I know the learning for me has been there were things that I was really not in integrity about, that I now, when I feel like that, because again, it's not something that ever goes away. We make mistakes, but how do we uh, you know I'm going to say, how do we show leadership in repairing connections, or making good after we have made a mistake or something like that, hurt someone, right? When we know better, we do better. So integrity fits with awareness in that respect. And then the third word there is alignment. So thinking about our deeply held values, and if I can know that something, if I have the awareness that something that's being offered to me or something that's being communicated to me, um, something that I'm being asked to take part in or agree with or something like that, if I can if I can say, well, that's really not aligned with my values, with my most deeply held values, then having that awareness means I can choose to engage with things that do have, that are within my most deeply held values rather than those that are not. So that's how I think of awareness. And I think it feels it's an important part of alignment, of aliveness, right? To have that awareness, to know that we have choices and freedom, things like that, because of the thinking in here. And so the way that I set up this diagram is, and I have to say, this idea was shown to me by a very dear friend. I didn't come up with it on my own, but as soon as they showed it to me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like this is a way to see how I'm operating in the world for aliveness. It's like, wow. So the way it's set up is for each of the three A's, awareness, acceptance, and agency, opposite each one is what happens when you don't have it. And for the others, I'll invite you to go to look at this image, or be patient until we get to that part of the series. But with awareness, what is opposite awareness in the diagram are the words ignorance, misunderstanding, and confusion. Because these are the things that we feel when we do not have awareness. And I really love this part of this diagram as well because it gives you a really we can place ourselves in the diagram and say, "Oh, that's how I'm feeling, so I must not have X," right? Like so if I'm feeling if I'm not understanding, if there's a misunderstanding between me and a person, then I know that there's something going on with the awareness that I have of this. So I can, instead of being judgmental, I can be curious and I can say, okay, and actually I want to do this the same way, which is to say, I don't want to like share my stories. I want you to have the space to be able to envision your own stories. But one example that I will share, recently, I had, I think what felt like a conflict with someone in my life. And I felt like I was being told that I shouldn't have done something, and I did not understand what I had done. I didn't understand why it was wrong. And oh boy, I mean, it certainly didn't get resolved immediately. I took myself out on a walk and I just allowed myself to feel the feelings and cry and be confused and sit with it all. And when I got back from my walk, I went back to them because I realized I do not have a proper awareness of what is happening with this person, with a loved one. And so I could look in this chart and I could say, okay, this is a misunderstanding. I'm misunderstanding the situation. There's something here that I feel ignorant, I feel confused, all of it, right? So I went back to them and I said, I really would like to understand how to make this right because I did do this thing and I don't understand why it's wrong or why it hurt you. And I want to understand that because I don't want to hurt you again. And I would like for us to be able to be continue, to be friends, continue to have the relationship that we have. And And the way that I said it was really that. I was like, can you help me understand? I'm curious about this. I see that I've done something wrong or that I've done something that hurt you, but I don't know what it was. And until I know that, I don't know how to fix it. And they wrote me back and they just really lovingly said that I'm trying to think how to say this succinctly. They basically said, you've done nothing wrong. I acknowledge that this is a confusing situation, and it is on me, they said, to make it right because I see how we got here was a series of choices that I made that if I had thought about it, I would have wanted to do something different. And so it basically opened a door for us to be able to talk. And that was one way that having an understanding that I didn't have awareness was challenging, and that was kind of what I did about it, basically. So, and then I mentioned those three words: disconnected, exhausted, and fearful, that are outside of the diagram. And the one that feels when I look at this now and I just go, holy mackerel, it feels very connected to awareness is disconnected. So if we don't have an awareness, we can feel really disconnected because it just we don't have what feels like sort of solid ground under our feet, right? And and when we do, it's because we have awareness, we have understanding, we have clarity, we have these things that, freedom, integrity, and alignment, being in alignment, these qualities. And so I think what I wish to leave you with today is just thinking about awareness, perhaps something to take on your next walk or journal on or drive, take a drive or talk over with some people in your life, is just about what is awareness to you? Is it what I thought of it as freedom, integrity, alignment? Are there other, does it have to do with staying present versus being pulled into other parts of your life that take you away from the moment in a way that is not a choice, but instead sort of just what happens? Is it about hearing the self-talk? Like what is awareness to you? Yeah, and I'm going to leave it there, I think, for today. Let's just bring our curiosity to awareness. And as we go through, what we'll be doing is we'll be kind of looking back on all these and how they pertain to aliveness. Thank you for being here. Yeah. And in the meantime, I am just wishing you well. I hope today's a good one for you. And I'm glad you're along for this ride of this series. Great to see you. Great to spend some time with you. I look forward to when we are together again. Should be next week in this space. Be well in the meantime. Lots of love. Bye bye.